evening.
Good evening.
Happy Friday to everyone.
Yes.
It's another day that the Lord has made, and we're going to rejoice and be glad in it.
Yes, we are.
Right? So it's Minister Stevens and Coach Irene again with another topic. And our topic for today is, to whom much is given, much is required.
That's a good one.
That's another good one. Okay. All right. That's your famous saying.
Yeah.
All right. So, as usual, we solicit your questions, your comments, your likes, and if you're ever interested in, speaking with us, come on. We'd be glad to have you.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're gonna, as usual, go from an angle of how it affects us, how this topic affects us, how it affects the world, and get into it a little bit in reference to the Bible. So come on, let's jump into it. So again, the topic, to whom much is given, much is required. From a people standpoint, or from a person standpoint, this means simply, for a person with skills, to whom much is given, much is required, simply means that their abilities, like their talents, their knowledge, or their expertise, comes with a duty to use them for good, to benefit others, and to grow, not just for personal gain, creating an expectation of accountability and stewardship. It's about being a faithful manager of your gifts, whether it's mentoring, creating value, or contributing to society, because greater capability implies greater responsibility. So how this applies. So for accountability for your talents, if you're skilled in perhaps coding, writing, art, or any field for that matter, you're expected to use that skill constructively, not hoard it or misuse it. When it comes to stewardship of your knowledge, for instance, advanced education or specialized knowledge creates a responsibility to share it, perhaps through teaching at a university, teaching at your church, teaching on your job, teaching in whatever realm you're going to teach in, mentoring or solving problems in your community. And that's what we're about. We're trying to help our community as much as we can possibly help, with the help of God and with the help of you. For growth and development, the principle implies ongoing growth, not just being stagnant. So a person with developed skills is expected to keep progressing and applying those skills, your skills, at higher levels rather than, I just use the word, stagnating. All right? And in societal contribution or your community involvement, your skills are seen as a resource to help others and improve the world at large, not just to build personal wealth or status. And I know we all want wealth and we sometimes want status, but if you're doing it, hopefully your motivation is not just wealth or for status. It's to actually help the community and help others at large. So for an example, if you're a talented engineer, that's your much is given. And then that piece of it is required to build safe structures and perhaps mentor junior engineers. That is the much is required portion of it. All right? So we already have like an idea of what, to whom much is given, much is required about. And then we're going to break it down a little bit more as far as, husbands and wives, and then, the world a little bit more, and then go into the Bible. Would you like to add anything before we go on?
Yes. So, to whom much is given, much is required. Before we dig too much in that, oftentimes those who are given gifts and they use them as they're supposed to often get abused, and that puts them in the state of mind to where they don't want to use them like they should. To help the community, to help whatever industry, their church or whatever, because it's often getting abused by other people who are the receivers of said gifts. So you got to look at that from both angles. Sometimes people have used their gifts to help, and it's been abused many times.
I agree with that. Sometimes when you're the go-to person on a job, they know what you're capable of doing. And you may be the person who is pulled from here, pulled from there, pulled to here, pulled to there, and it requires a lot of your time and your energy, and it takes you away from what you actually have on your plate already. So I totally agree with what you just said. Yeah. Absolutely. You always got a different way of looking at things, which is good. Helps me, makes me think. All right. So now that the husband has said something, let's get into husbands. All right. Again, to whom much is given. That would be you. Okay. Much is required of you. And wives, okay? You're not exempt. We're not exempt. All right, so for a husband to whom much is given, much is required, you can find that in Luke, Luke, chapter 12, verse 48. Means his blessings, his strength, his provision, his leadership, his knowledge, or his spiritual insight come with heightened responsibility to serve, protect, lead sacrificially, and care for his wife and family, using his gifts to benefit them and to honor God, rather than just himself, mirroring the stewardship principle of being accountable for greater trust. You want me to keep going? That's a wow.
Yeah.
You knew it though. So key applications for husbands everywhere, all right? So stewardship of your gifts. If you're a husband or a soulmate or a mate or whatever, your talents, your resources, your time, money, and skills even your emotional capacity are gifts from God. Not gifts from yourself, not gifts from your neighbor, not gifts from your partner. They're gifts from God, requiring diligent use for your family's well-being, not just for personal gain. Now, when it comes to sacrificial leadership, being entrusted with leadership, putting your wife's need before your own, leading with love, gentleness, and prioritizing her spiritual and physical health above all others in your life. Similar to Christ's love for the church. All right, so there's a greater accountability as well. Because a husband often holds a position of greater responsibility or influence within the home, he faces a higher standard of accountability for his actions, his words, and his decisions. You have to know that your decisions hold a higher standard, right? Providing and protecting. Much is given. That's the much is given. Can be providing a secure, loving, and spiritually nurturing environment. Say it again. Providing a secure, loving, and spiritually nurturing environment. Especially if you're within, you're in the church, you're a minister, I'm not going to say everybody's going to live by this, but it's just something to go by, definitely. Because everybody's not, everybody's not in the church.
Yes, and so husbands biblically we're appointed to be the leaders of the house, to be the shepherds of the house. So with that comes the power to make the decisions that are supposed to positively be applicable and applied to everyone within the household, to your wife, to your children, to whoever is under that roof. So what we don't want to do is take that power and just make decisions that are only good for us, for our own selfish needs as the man in the house. You have to think ahead, and sometimes you have to what's the word? You have to some of the decisions you have to pass some of that authority on to your wife if she's better at making certain decisions. Like so maybe the wife is better at making more financial decisions, or as far as a lot of care for the children, and many other things that you may have to delegate some of that authority and power to, but you would have to be wise and secure enough in yourself, and secure enough in the gift that God has bestowed upon you as the head of the house.
Mm-hmm. So husbands, your commitment just has to be paramount. Great discussion, thank you. And spiritual instruction. If a husband has greater spiritual understanding or faith, and that's an if, he is required to use that wisdom to guide and encourage his wife, not just for himself. So in essence, the verse in Luke, where was it? I'm going to be moving on in a second. Luke 12:48, the verse calls husbands to recognize the blessings of trust, demanding faithful stewardship and selfless service within the marriage, reflecting a deeper level of responsibility for the unique relationship God has given. Because it is a unique relationship. All right, so let's move on. You ready?
Let's move on.
All right, so let's talk about the U.S. presidency for a little bit. And we're just going to hit on it and jump off of it. But for the U.S. presidency, the phrase "to whom much is given, much is required" applies to anyone, male or female, holding the position as a U.S. president by highlighting their immense power and responsibility, demanding ethical conduct, financial transparency, especially regarding foreign emoluments via the emoluments clauses, and selfless service as they are entrusted with governing the entire nation. A vast privilege that comes with high expectations for integrity and accountability, way far beyond normal citizens, as exemplified by constitutional rules and traditions. I'm gonna leave you with that one and let you think about it. Got anything you want to say on that?
Yes, as a president, that that person, whether it be male or female, has a lot of power and a lot of authority within their hands, and a lot of financial authority. And sometimes for those who are not ready for those type of positions, they can't quite handle managing those assets as honestly as they should. And not only that, you're in charge of so many people, so many branches of the military, so many government workers, and regular civilian citizens.
People from all walks of life.
Every decision that you make affects everyone. So you have to be, very wise and seek counsel, seek the right counsel, and not just go on your own recognizance for every decision that you make.
Again, to whom much is given, much is required.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to jump into the Bible a little bit more, and then we're going to be done. All right, again, so to whom much is given, much is required is a famous saying. Everybody that goes to church knows the saying. If you don't, go to Luke 12:48. In the Bible, meaning those with greater blessings, talents, wealth, or knowledge have a larger responsibility to use them for good and to benefit others rather than just yourself. It is a principle of accountability, suggesting that God expects greater stewardship from those who have received more, emphasizing generosity and service to the needy. And so those gifts from God, whether they're skills, resources, or opportunities, aren't just for personal gain, but are intended to be shared. All right? An example, a wealthy person, let's say a wealthy person, using their fortune to fund charities. So the much that is given is your fortune. The much that's required is to fund charities. Someone with a talent for speaking, using it to teach or to inspire. The gift of speaking, or the talent for speaking, is your much that has been given. And the inspiring of others is the much that is required. And then a leader with influence, using their position to advocate for the disadvantaged. the leader with that position to advocate, your advocacy is your gift, your much that has been given, and using it to advocate for the disadvantaged is the part that is much that is required. All right. So, in essence, you, me, he, all of us are responsible for how we invest our skills and our time. Our potential brings a higher standard of ethical use and contribution, and it's about using our advantages to serve others and to achieve greater purpose.
This brings to mind the parable in the passage of scripture, St. Matthew chapter 25, verse 18, where God gave 3 men different multitudes of gifts. One he gave, I believe, 10. One he gave 5, and one he gave 1 to gifts to use. And the one that had 10, God came back, he used his gifts, and God doubled it. The one that had 5, God came back, he used his gifts and doubled it. But the one that God gave 1 gift to, he looked at his gift and he just buried it. He didn't use it as God would have required him to use it. And he took that gift away because he did not do with it what he was required. And it says to whom much is given, but to whom any is given. It may be little. You may have 1 talent, but you are still required to use that gift. You may have just one or 2 things that you can do very, very special. Whatever God gives you, whether it be a little or a lot, you are to use it for the glorification of God. Not bury it, not just use it for yourself, not think of ideas of how to enlarge your pockets or enlarge your
own territory.
Because it's not your job to enlarge your territory. It's God's. God's going to enlarge your territory beyond anything that you can even imagine. So if you just do the will of God with what God gives you, he will enlarge your territory. So just no matter whether you have few gifts or a lot of gifts, just make sure that you use them for what God has intended them for.
I like that. So, it makes perfect sense, because your little bit becomes much when you place it in the master's hand. Not in your hands, but in the master's hands. And the master is God. So he will enlarge your territory if you allow him to be. Remember, your little bit becomes much if you place it in the master's hand. Your talent, your funds, your generosity, your care, all of that becomes much when you give it to God. And he will direct your path.
Yes,
he will tell you how to use it.
Amen.
Amen. You got anything else?
You said it all. That's a whole sermon. Right?
A whole sermon right there. All right. Well, thank you so very much for joining us. Please send us your comments, any questions you have. We'll be glad to respond.
Yes.
Enjoy your weekend, and God bless.